Hello everyone, Jean Kanicki. Welcome back. Today we're going to look at the differences between compassion and empathy. The differences between compassion versus empathy includes what the term means, the feelings they invoke, and the behaviors they inspire. Which means empathy is about truly understanding what another person feels. It means you can imagine yourself in another person's situation and feel what they must be feeling. Compassion evokes a sense of sympathy, concern, or pity for what other people are going through. Compassion and empathy also differ in the type of emotional response they invoke. Where empathy creates understanding, compassion is more likely to inspire feelings of concern, worry, or sympathy. You might care about someone's situation and feel moved to help them, but it doesn't necessarily mean you understand what they're going through. It's important to note that empathy and compassion often occur together. Empathy frequently acts as fuel for compassion. By empathizing with someone, you might experience feelings of compassion and a desire to help them. When you understand what someone is going through, it naturally leads to a desire to help them. Compassion and empathy also differs in the effects that they have. Compassion tends to be based on taking action, whereas empathy is rooted in feelings. Because compassion is action-based, people are more likely to feel that their efforts have been useful. Empathy is important, but it can also feel emotionally draining. Constantly observing other people's emotions can be overwhelming at times, especially when there isn't a clear way to help. This can lead to helplessness, hopelessness, guilt, and even feelings of burnout. In some cases, people may cope with these difficult feelings by pulling away, withdrawing from social situations, or even distancing themselves emotionally to try to protect their own emotional well-being. Compassion and empathy also differ in terms of when we experience these emotions. We don't always empathize with everyone in the same way. In fact, evidence suggests we're more likely to experience this type of emotional understanding if we relate to the person on some level. This often includes people we know in real life, but we are also more likely to empathize with people who are similar to us in some way. On the other hand, compassion is something that we can extend to others without necessarily needing to have a personal connection to the situation. So let's look at the differences of compassion versus empathy side by side. Compassion involves sympathy and concern for someone who is suffering. It leads to action and helping behaviors. It can inspire positive feelings. It can create pro-social motivation and altruistic responses to suffering. Empathy, on the other hand, can create feeling the emotion of others. Empathy leads to understanding. It may inspire negative feelings. So here are some similarities between compassion on one hand and empathy on the other. While there are important differences between compassion and empathy, they also share many similarities. Both compassion and empathy can sometimes be overwhelming, particularly when people are exposed to situations that require these emotions for prolonged periods. Burnout is a type of exhaustion often caused by exposure to chronic emotional, physical, and mental stress. It can leave people feeling drained and unable to muster empathy for others. Burnout usually has a gradual onset in which we tend to feel physically, emotionally, and mentally exhausted after having been in a prolonged state of stress. Compassion can lead to a type of burnout known as compassion fatigue. This emotional and physical exhaustion leads to reduced feelings of empathy, increased cynicism, detachment, emotional numbness, and apathy. A lot of people who work in healthcare settings that involve prolonged exposure to other people's suffering, such as nurses, first responders, and therapists, are more prone to experience compassion fatigue. When giving or caring or showing up for someone else feels more frustrating, stressful, and anxiety-provoking for you, often to the extent that you struggle to assess the empathy and compassion that once fueled your initial drive to help, it's likely that you may be experiencing compassion fatigue. To try to prevent this, be mindful of how you're feeling. If you notice you're struggling to assess your empathy and compassion, or it feels like it's too much for you, take a step back. Remember that your mental health is also important and that you can't help others if you don't take care of yourself. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.